Steel doesn't become a sword by being left alone. It becomes a sword because someone chose to heat it until it was willing to change, beat it into shape it couldn't have imagined on its own, and cool it in water that made it scream. That process is not comfortable. It is not motivational. It is not something you would choose if no one was forcing your hand. Miyamoto Musashi understood that men work the same way. He spent 40 years forging himself with the same ruthlessness a swordsmith brings to his best blade. The result was something that had never existed before and has never been replicated since. He was born in 1584 into a Japan cracking at its seams. Civil war was not a chapter in a textbook, it was the weather. His mother died young. His father, a brutal and celebrated warrior, abandoned him. He was raised by an uncle, given scraps of formal education, and handed a world with no guaranteed path through it. Every man has a war he's avoiding. Not the kind with weapons, the kind that lives behind the eyes, the one that wakes you at 3 a.m. with the question you keep refusing to answer. Is this really it? Is this who you decided to be? Musashi didn't avoid his war. He walked toward it at 13 years old, stood across from a trained warrior twice his size, and swung first. He killed the man with a wooden staff, not with mercy, not with hesitation, with absolute commitment to seeing the moment through. What that tells you isn't that Musashi was violent. What it tells you is that he had already made a decision most men never make. The decision to stop waiting for permission to become something. He walked away from that first duel with no celebration, no mentor waiting, no reward. Just the knowledge that he had chosen a direction and was willing to bleed for it. He understood even then that there is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is within. Everything exists. Seek nothing outside of yourself. That kind of clarity at 13 is not a gift. It is a choice, and it cost him everything ordinary life might have offered. The years that followed were not a training montage. They were a wilderness. He fought at the Battle of Sekigahara at 16, survived catastrophic defeat, walked away from the losing side with no future, and spent the next decade wandering Japan alone, challenging every serious swordsman he could find. He had no school, no master, no system, except the one he was building through relentless confrontation with his own limits. Musashi understood instinctively what he would later write. If there is no discipline, how can there be a true realization of an ideal? So he imposed it on himself. He slept rough. He ate little. He trained without applause, without an audience, without the comfort of someone telling him he was on the right track. This is the part no one wants to hear about Musashi's path. Not the duels, the daily war. The war against distraction, against comfort, against the version of yourself who keeps negotiating with discipline instead of obeying it. He would later write, "The purpose of today's training is to defeat yesterday's understanding." That sentence sounds clean. Living it is savage. It means yesterday's victory counts for nothing today. It means you wake up and begin again with no credit carried forward. It means the standard you held yesterday is now the floor, not the ceiling. Most men treat their best day as proof of what they're capable of. Musashi treated every best day as the new minimum. He also understood something about the nature of mastery that most people misread. He didn't study swordsmanship. He studied everything: ink painting, sculpture, poetry, strategy, architecture. He understood that it is difficult to understand the universe if you only study one planet. and so he refused to become a man with one skill sharpened so narrow it could only cut one kind of thing. He moved through disciplines the way a general moves through terrain, not to conquer each one, but to understand the land beneath all of them. Determine that today you will overcome yourself of the day before. Tomorrow you will win over those of lesser skill, and later you will win over those of greater skill. That sequence only works if you keep widening the frame of what you're willing to learn. By his 30s, Musashi had fought 60 duels and never lost. But the most dangerous battles he fought were never with another man. They were with what lived inside him. He wrote directly about this. Control your anger. If you hold anger toward others, they have control over you. Your opponent can dominate and defeat you if you allow him to get you irritated. This is not a soft principle. This is tactical mastery. The man who can be made to react emotionally has already handed over the outcome. Musashi understood that your enemy's greatest weapon is not his sword arm. It's your own volatility, your own hunger to be seen, your own desperate need to prove something in the moment. Stillness, for Musashi, was not passivity. It was precision. The still man sees everything. The reactive man sees only what he's been provoked to see, which is exactly what his opponent wants him to see. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. That phrase carries the entire philosophy in 10 words. The man obsessed with his own reputation is already half defeated before the encounter begins. The man who has set down the weight of his own ego can perceive what others cannot. Musashi wrote, "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye." That capacity only develops in silence. It only deepens through years of training yourself to stop performing and start observing. He was also a man of paradox in ways that made his enemies underestimate him. He dressed carelessly. He arrived late to duels deliberately, not from disrespect, but to force his opponents to spend more time inside their own anxiety than inside their strategy. He was unwashed, unkempt, utterly indifferent to social performance, and yet everything about him was intentional. Do nothing that is of no use. That was his operating principle. Every choice, including the apparent carelessness, served a purpose. He had eliminated the unnecessary from his life so completely that what remained was pure function. That is terrifying to face in a man. At 50, having never been defeated, Musashi retired to a cave called Reigando and spent the last 2 years of his life writing. The result was the Book of 5 Rings, a text on strategy so precise that Japanese corporations studied it in the 1980s to understand competitive advantage. It is not a book about swords. It is a book about the nature of conflict, the architecture of victory, and the discipline required to see clearly when everything is designed to make you panic. He wrote that, "You must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain, because the man locked into one method is the man most easily beaten by anyone who refuses to follow that method's logic." Shortly before he died, he wrote the Dokudo, 21 rules for living alone, with nothing, no pleasures, no attachments, no sentimentality. It reads like a man burning down everything that wasn't essential and reporting on what was left. "Aspire to be like Mount Fuji," he wrote, "with such a broad and solid foundation that the strongest earthquake cannot move you, and so tall that the greatest enterprises of common men seem insignificant from your lofty perspective." He had arrived at something most men spend their entire lives circling without ever reaching, a self that required nothing external to remain intact. The ultimate aim of martial arts, he wrote, is not having to use them. The man who has truly mastered himself no longer needs to prove it. It may seem difficult at first, but everything is difficult at first. He knew this. He lived it for 40 years without a single day of guaranteed outcome. Anyone can give up. It is the easiest thing in the world to do, but to hold it together when everyone else would understand if you fell apart, that is true strength. And he also knew that, in time, all things work to your advantage when you pursue them with an open heart. Not quickly, not comfortably, but with a certainty that has no room for self-pity. What Musashi built was not a collection of victories. It was a self, constructed deliberately over decades through choices no one was watching him make. Now look at your own life. Not the version you perform for other people, the actual interior terrain. The thing you haven't started, the standard you keep lowering to make yesterday feel acceptable. The anger you're carrying that your enemies planted in you, and you've been watering ever since. Musashi's war lasted 40 years and never fully ended. Yours is happening right now, in the gap between who you are and who you are capable of being. The question isn't whether you can do this. The question is whether you are willing to stop waiting for conditions to become comfortable enough to begin. They won't. They never were meant to. The forge is not a place you go. The forge is your daily life. The heat is the resistance you face every single morning when comfort and discipline stand at opposite ends of the room and ask which direction you're walking. The hammer is every decision you make that no one sees, every repetition without reward. Every moment you hold the standard when holding it costs you something real. You don't get to opt out of the process. You only get to choose whether you're conscious inside it or unconscious. Musashi spent 40 years conscious inside the hardest version of that process and emerged something the world had never seen. The sword being made right now, through everything you're facing, through every moment of resistance and refusal and beginning again. That sword is you. The only question left is whether you'll let them finish making it. Always remember, if you can be anything in life, be a Stoic.